Welcome to Ham Radio Perspectives. I'm Tom, WA9 TDD.
And TDD, I'm your partner in crime here. My name is Quin, and I'm Kilo 8 Queen Sugar. Today, gang, we're going to look at getting wires for antennas up in trees. Some people can afford towers and big towers and all that, but most of us dink around with things like trees or short masts. And so how do you get wires up in the trees? We're going to talk about 8 ways of doing that.
Okay, and the number one way to get your wire in a tree is to climb the tree or hire a kid or a pro to do it. You know, you can install great rigging with a pulley that you can reuse, you know, not just rope over a tree. The strongest line, Mastrant, tends to tear with tree friction compared to less expensive polyester nylon. Hey, in our days, we could bribe a kid with $1 and a Coke to climb the tree, you know? Hey, there's professionalism.
Yeah, right. But you got to be careful about this. When my wife was about 55, she had climbed a tree out in front of our yard to get one end of the off-center fed dipole I had. And I was up on the roof of the house, and she was quite a ways up in the tree, right out the parkway by the street there, you know. I didn't hire a kid, unfortunately. She said she could do it. I can climb that tree. And lo and behold, while she's up in the tree, our adult son, unannounced, was living in Boston at the time, showed up in a taxi to surprise us. And he got out of that taxi, paid the guy, looked up in the tree and saw his mom up in that tree. And he said, "What are you guys doing? Mom, you come down from that tree right now." So, hey, this happens, you know. So number two, number two, you can use a weighted throw line. You got your line, whatever it is, something really light, not too easy to break, and you put something heavy on the end, and you throw that up, or maybe you swing it around a few times and throw it up. So you use a weighted throw line. Now, I like to use a fishing sinker, and what I do is I put some bright orange tape around that sinker. So once I throw it up, I can see where that sinker is and if it's where I want it to be or not, so I don't lose track of it. And if you use braided fishing line, let's say 30 to 50 pound test, or a slick mason's line, it can be great. So you tie the weight securely to that line, you clear the ground around your feet, you get a bunch of the line out there, don't have it wrapped up because that's more friction, and then you throw. And you may miss the first time and go through the neighbor's window. So that's okay, don't worry about it. Just go over there and lightly pick it out of the window and try again until you get it. Never tie your heavy antenna support rope directly to the weight. In other words, what you're going to use to hold up the antenna is not what you're throwing. You're throwing something that's very light, like fishing line or whatever. And Tom, I've done this with even like a tennis ball. I'll take a tennis ball and I'll attach some fishing line to it with a bunch of tape, you know, real colored.
Right.
Throw that ball up. It's not too heavy. It gives me enough weight, and it's less likely to get stuck when I try to pull it back through from the other side. So it might help you to do this from a really good location, like on top of your house. You got a 2-story house, get up on top of the roof. Be careful there, don't fall off. And you may be able to throw it even higher in the tree from there. Gain a little space by doing it that way. So that's number 2, use a weighted throw line. It's age old.
I've tried that, and I had an old croquet set, and all the croquet balls were different colors. So I put a screw eye in each of the wooden croquet balls, tied my line to it, threw it over the tree. By the time I got done, it looked like a Christmas tree because I had 10 croquet balls stuck hanging from 20 feet up in the tree. But then number 3 is, bribe guys from the companies with a bucket truck that are in your area. You know, the electric power guys, the
tree trimmers.
The tree trimmers, the construction guys. You know, if you see a guy coming down with a bucket truck, just flag him. Take a $100 bill and flag him down. Hit them when they're taking a lunch break or on the lawn nearby. You know, show some cash as they approach them. Downside, you have to wait until they're in the area. Upside, they can make a solid pulley connection for you. And no, they will not let you go up in the bucket.
Yeah, right.
So have everything ready and guide them to the proper branch.
I have done it, Tom.
You know,
I
yeah.
have,
Did you
I have
did
done it.
you rent the bucket truck?
No, I'm too cheap to rent a bucket
Yeah,
truck.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Uh,
but when they're in the area here, working on trees twice a year, they come through and they're cutting trees and all. I wait for them, as you said, when they're on their lunch break and they're within a block, and I just stop by and let's say there are three guys there sitting, eating their munching on their sandwich on the grass, and I have three $50 bills. And I'd say, hey, can you guys quickly do a little government job for me? Now, did you know that expression when we lived in Chicago?
yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah,
government job,
government work.
government work.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we called it. And so, and they get it, and they say almost always, yeah, how far away are you? Whatever, just around the corner over here. They pull that truck over, put that thing up there. They got it installed. If I've got everything ready like that, I love it. I've done it multiple times, and I'm going to try to find a photo and post it here on the video. The last time I did it, because I took a picture, maybe even a video of the guys doing it. So that's the old, what shall we call that, Tom?
That's the old,
Bribe 'em.
I don't know, the heavyweight tennis ball, croquet ball in the tree.
Okay. And bribing the guys, yeah.
You're right.
All right. So number 4, Tom, that's yours.
Oh, okay. Well, the Arborist throw line kit. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of these, but these are really an interesting device, simple device that the arborists use and have perfected the art of getting ropes into trees safely without damaging the bark. The arborist throw bag, it's actually, a lead-filled, shot-filled nylon pouch, usually around 10, 12 ounces, something like that, and a dedicated cube basket filled with premium slick line. So it just feeds out very easily. It uses something like a Dyneema or a Zingit line, and instead of throwing it like a baseball, they use a two-handed underhand swing to launch the heavy bag. And I've actually seen some guys use this. They throw it backwards over their head with their back to the tree, and they launch the heavy bag. And it's a specially designed cube holds the line in a way that prevents tangles, which is a big pain as it flies upward. Because the arborist bag is heavy, it easily drops back down through the thick foliage instead of getting, stuck in the canopy.
In fact, Tom, one end of my off-center fed dipole right now, that's at about 45 feet up in a tree, was put up by this technique. When the guys were coming through doing the trimming, they didn't have a bucket truck, but I asked them about what they use if they need to get something up in the tree. And I thought maybe climbing or whatever. He said, and he pulled one of these out of the truck. He said, where do you want it? And we went to the back of my yard here, and I showed him the branch that I was looking at that I wanted this over. He said, okay, just give me the end of your line there. I had some fishing line. He said, it'll just take a minute. I'm telling you, Tom, within 2 minutes, in that backward way, he threw that thing up over it. He might have missed it the first time, but I was astounded. I had no idea that these guys could do that. So that's number 4. Number 5 is one of my favorites. I used it for years. I've gotten a little tired of it, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but it's the fishing rod and reel. So you get your fishing rod and reel, and you put some weight on the end of it, right? A little sinker. I usually, again, put the orange colored or yellow colored tape on that sinker. And then you get back a ways and you go once, twice. I'm using spin casting typically, and back and room up there. And I'll tell you, you can get it high, you can get it far. But if you think you're going to get it through a 6-inch opening, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Unless you're a professional bass fisherman, you're not going to get it through there. So that was the thing that led me away from it to the next technique that you're going to talk about, Tom. Go ahead.
That's the slingshot. That's number 6, or sometimes known as a wrist rocket. And if you need more height than your arm can provide, which at our age is pretty typical, and that would be anything over 30, 40 feet, a heavy-duty slingshot is a favorite tool of many portable and field day operators. All you need for gear is a standard, wrist brace slingshot, a fishing reel attachment, often called a sling fishing kit, and a 1 ounce fishing weight. Commercially, they have the tools like the Easy Hang slingshot setup.
Yeah, Tom, I have the Easy Hang. I'm going to take a picture of it and put it in here.
Okay. And the technique is the amount of spinning reel to a closed face spin cast or a closed face spin cast reel to the front of the slingshot. You open the bail on the reel, pulls back the weight in the slingshot pouch, and aim carefully and fire. And it works because the weight pulls the low friction fishing line effortlessly over the branches, up to 60 to 80 feet high. And once that sinker drops back down to the ground, use the line to pull your antenna rope up.
Yep, that's the whole technique. And I've done it many, many times. I'm not good with the slingshots. I had a regular slingshot that I tried to hook up to a spin cast system. I couldn't work it well. So I bought that Easy Hang, which is a better system. But I'm still not good at aiming it and getting it where it needs to be. But half the hams that live here within a couple of miles of me will come over and they'll nail it on the first or second try. I guess they used this more when they were a kid than I did. I'm not sure my parents allowed me to run around with a slingshot, but they're good at it. The one problem with this technique that I have a lot of is when that thing goes up and over and starts to come down, if the sinker does not drop all the way,
right,
it will go around one of the branches a few times. It'll swing around,
right,
go up and down, room, and then you're stuck. And so the only thing you can do is break that line and then start over again. And then about 2 years later, that weight will fall to the ground in a windstorm, and you'll see it out there and remember that. Number 7, the pneumatic antenna launchers, which are becoming popular now. This is one of the high power options here.
Is this like a potato gun?
Yeah. Exactly. And how you make these things, you can get more and more pressure in them, and then you got your PVC, and you put something in there like a tennis ball
or a potato.
Don't do a potato. Holy smokes. And imagine that going through your neighbor's window. And he's going to say, they're bombing us with potatoes, run. What was that movie? The Russians are coming. Coming.
Yeah.
And so, and these things really work well. I've got a friend just south of town here that's got one of these, and he's come over a few times. And getting the right amount of pressure in these things is the difficult thing, because the first time he came over to go up over one of the highest oak trees behind my house to shoot this thing, it ended up about 3 blocks away. I mean, that thing went so far, I couldn't believe it. And so, but he's finally learned about how much to adjust when he puts in the pressure and weighs that pressure. He's got a little gauge on there to know what the right amount of pressure is for the right purpose. But so you pressurize the chamber with a bicycle pump or with air compressor, tennis ball, whatever, and that sucker goes. It's great for something like field day where you're really out in the field and you just want to get something really high over the highest tree that you can imagine. These really work. What's number 8, Tom? The finale.
Number 8 is the highly technical version of using a drone with a drop line. And remember to have a good drop line trigger on this thing, because I've flown drones over trees with line on it. And the technique is either to have a drop line, drop your line with the weight on it, have the drone release it over the tree, or fly your drone high enough and that when you land the drone, it lands on the other side of the tree with enough length there that you're not hanging up your drone in the tree.
Yep, that's a tough one. My buddy who's got the launcher also has one of the high-end DJI drones before they disallowed selling them in the U.S. because they're made in China, and he's got it with a little adapter on it that drops the line right down with a good camera underneath that drone, and he can see exactly where it is. Drops it down and then flies the drone out, releases the line, flies it out, and it's fantastic. So these are 8 ways that you can get a wire up in the tree, but we want to say there are some essential safety and tree tips that you want to remember if you're going to do these.
Right. Number one, and the most obvious, is avoid power lines. Absolutely never launch a line anywhere near an overhead power utility line. I don't care if you think it's just a phone line, but if it's a power line, you're in big trouble. A wet fishing line or wire can conduct electricity instantly.
Absolutely. Number two, beware of hang-ups. If your weight, as I said, gets wrapped around a branch, do not pull with all of your might. All that's going to happen there is you will bend the branch and jam the weight in tighter. Give it some gentle slack back and forth, so it's going up and down until you can kind of shake it free. And if you're using a slingshot, use a lighter test fishing line so that if it gets permanently stuck, you can easily snap it without harming the tree. And I made the mistake one time, Tom, of getting up way too thick of a piece of wire over the branch or line rather. And I could not get it to go up and down. I couldn't break it. It was terrible. And some of the tree guys were having lunch down the street here, and I went over and I had, there were three of them. I had three 350s. And I said, hey, can you guys come over and pull on a line for me? Now, they didn't speak English very well. My Spanish is halfway decent, so I was able to communicate what this was about. But they were leery, man. They were leery. And they came over in the backyard, and I handed them the line. I said, pull this. I want to get this down from the tree. So I couldn't do it. The three of them lined up together, and I'm coaching them along. All of a sudden, boom, they pulled, and that sucker came down. It was worth $150, and they were delighted. That's probably the biggest tip they'd ever had in one day.
Yeah. Now, another caution I would mention is if you pull on the line, if that weight or sinker is just caught between a notch and a branch in the tree, and you pull on it hard enough, that weight can come flying back at you at 2,400 feet per second and put a big dent in your skull. So, no, you don't want to do that. Yeah. And also allow for tree sway. The trees move significantly in high winds, and if you tie an antenna wire rigidly between two trees, the first big storm will snap your wire. Always use a pulley and a counterweight system like a heavy window weight, a gallon jug of water, or a garage door spring on one end of the rope to pull and give the trees some sway. You don't want to have it tight. You want to have what's called catenary sway.
Oh,
okay. Where if you look at the utility lines, there's always a bit of a sway between the lines, and catenary sag, I believe, is the correct word. So you want to, there's no advantage to having a guitar string tight antenna wire up there. It doesn't make any difference if you're off a foot or two on the entire length.
Yeah.
And number.
Yeah.
5.
Hold on. Before you give number 5 on that one, I just want you to know, I just leave plenty of slack.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever affects the performance. So both ends of my off-center fed right now, it's close to 60 feet in the center, both ends, like an inverted V, but they're hanging down and they're drooping. I don't care about droop. Now, there are other things in life that I don't like droop about, but we won't get into that. Okay, what's number 5, Tom?
Number 5, number 4, wherever we're at on this goofy list here, is most important is make sure your life insurance is paid up.
Yes, maybe your home insurance too, if you're really not a good shot. Okay, this has been it, gang. 8 ways to get that wire up in the tree. A little bit of caution, a little bit of stories of fun. You can do it. And we hope this has contributed to your enjoyment of ham radio and also maybe a little bit of information, education as well. You've been watching, maybe you wish you weren't, but you've been watching Ham Radio Perspectives. I'm Quin, K8QS.
I'm Tom, W89TDD.
Please, oh please, oh please, give us thumbs up. Make some comments down below. Tell us what a great job we're doing, because these things take a lot of work and we want to make sure that we're serving you well. 73, everybody. Thanks for watching.